Good afternoon. This is Ed Pozzuoli, CEO of Tripp Scott. And today we're honored to have the Senate Majority Leader from the Florida Senate, Senator Jim Boyd. Jim, welcome.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it.
As a small business owner that you are, how do we keep costs down? And one of those costs that you all tackled this legislative session is the tax on commercial rent. Talk to us a little bit about how that happened and how did you guys achieve eliminating that?
Sure, thanks. And it was a big cost on property owners, and one we should have eliminated a long time ago. As you know, I think we were the only state in the country that imposed that tax, so it needed to go away. The problem early on was it was a big number. It's $2 billion roughly to eliminate it entirely. In a budget that's kind of tough every year that you have to balance and manage, it became a big number to deal with. So we started chipping away at it back in 2014, 15, somewhere in that range. And then this year, we are finally, because of the great economic success Florida's had, we're able to eliminate the entire tax, which was about $1 billion left. So, and it's the right thing to do. Property owners were paying it; they shouldn't have been. Some businesses told me, we could build another store or another building if we didn't have to pay just this tax. So, and it affects families. It's a trickle down all the way into families. So
right.
It was the right thing to do. I'm so glad we were able to eliminate it, and that's gone away forever.
Which is one less burden on business and just general folks.
Indeed.
Talking about that, the property insurance, particularly in residential property insurance, what steps has the Florida legislature taken, and what results have they gotten in that marketplace to try to drive costs down?
Thanks. Well, as you know, that's my day job. I'm an insurance broker, so it was near and dear to me. And our clients were paying a lot more than they should have for property insurance, residential property insurance specifically, and a lot of it was due to fraud and abuse. And so we started really looking at ways we could eliminate that fraud and abuse. And during that time, there were a couple of carriers that just went out of business, that went bankrupt. There were carriers that were leaving the state. They just couldn't afford to do business in Florida. So in 2022, in a special session in December, we passed a bill that really transformed property insurance and the way fees were paid to attorneys, and the lawsuits that were being brought onto the system that were never expected or anticipated in the rate making process kind of were eliminated. So the result of that is now here we are in 2025, we've had 14 or 15 new carriers come to the state. Companies are lowering their rates. Most companies are at least stable in their rates, not increasing them at all. I had told you earlier, somebody in my office told me, man, my homeowners insurance in our insurance agency went down 28% this last year. Now that doesn't happen every time with every client, but it's an indication that those reforms are working. And to put a little bit of a finer point on that, hopefully now the national carriers that were all once here, the big name carriers, the household names that everybody has heard of and knows, hopefully they'll start looking at this market as being an attractive place to bring capital. They'll come back into the market, and then that will really drive further competition that I believe will continue to lower rates.
So in other words, increase the number of carriers that are participating in our marketplace.
And there's a lot of good domestic companies within Florida that are well capitalized and doing the right things, but more competition is with those bigger carriers, I think, just makes the marketplace more desirable, and ultimately lowers rates, and Floridians and your friends and neighbors and ours will be able to enjoy those lowered rates.
Your insurance committee also dealt with My Safe Florida Home program. Describe what that is and how our viewers can take advantage of some of those things.
Sure, that's a grant program essentially through the state up to a certain level, and we did a couple of tranches. We did it years ago, and then we reinstituted it, I think in 20 or 21. Came into the Senate, then we started talking about doing it again. And essentially, you, as a homeowner, you would apply to the state through the CFO's office for a grant, and up to a certain dollar amount, you were able to, buy new hurricane windows or a new door or those types of things. What it does, most importantly, it hardens your home. So if you have a storm comes through, you're more likely to be protected. But equally as important in the long run, it lowers your insurance premiums, because now you've got hurricane-proof windows where you may not have had them before. So it has a kind of a twofold effect. It protects you first and foremost and your family, but then also lowers your costs along the way.
That's part and parcel to kind of some of the self-help things homeowners can do
That's
not
correct.
just the structural things that you all talked about by increasing the marketplace and whatnot.
Right. No, 100%. That's exactly right. And I hope we'll be able to, as we move forward. It's a very popular program, as you can imagine,
Sure.
and very widely utilized. So hopefully, in future years, we'll have the resources in the state budget to be able to continue some of those programs, because it's kind of a year after year reappropriation, if you will, to commit monies for that. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to continue that program.
So, ultimately, under your leadership, what are some of the other priorities that you're going to have under the, from the Senate standpoint
Sure.
in the next couple of years?
Well, we've talked a little bit in the past. Property taxes are an issue.
Right.
That's on the governor's radar, of course, and that's something we're all talking about. So the conversation is alive there. Doing the right thing, and what does that mean, I think is going to take a little time to make sure we get it right if we do something different. Fentanyl and opioids have been a passion of mine, because it's been just a tremendous scourge on Florida. Families, have been affected. I've had friends in my community whose kids have died, and and that's not specific to any class, any
Nope.
race,
Nope.
any age.
Right.
It's a horrible problem. We put some good legislation in place that has made a difference, but sadly those dealers are doing so well. We have to continue that fight. So that'll be something I'd be really interested in pursuing. Infrastructure, with Florida being as great as it is, and with the economy being as good as it is, for the third year in a row, rated the #1 economy in the country. A lot of people want to come here. The lack of regulation and government interference in their lives drives people here, which we're happy about. We have to prepare for that, and I think we need a longer-term plan to deal with those challenges. But I'm sure we can. The good news is we've got a lot of good people trying to do the right thing around us, and our resources are strong. But that gives us the chance to also pay off debt, put money in reserves, so we're stable, and we can withstand downturns if and when they do come.
So property taxes, the continued addressing of property taxes, the property insurance, the opioid, fentanyl issues, continue to fight that, as well as what you've just said on a long-term infrastructure plan statewide.
Yeah, and education. That's, I know you all are really involved in that space very, very heavily, and thank you for that. Education that's the thing that makes a difference for our state for the future. If kids don't have a chance at a good education, where do they go, and what happens to our state? Right. So everything else aside, I think that really is one of the most important things we can do as a legislature. That's give kids and families a choice and a chance to have a leg up.
And then the state historically, the last 25 years or so, has done very, very well increasing their student achievements, and the state university system, which is now considered to be the top in the country.
Yeah, and Jeb Bush, as we all know, great guy. He started a lot of these initiatives, or at least formed them, and now over time, a lot of those have come to pass, as well as new ideas that have come since then. So I think it's encouraging to see what's happening, and kids that otherwise might have been in a failing school that had no chance in life are now having a chance for a solid world-class education, and they're going to be great and productive parts of our community.
Well, I mean, if history tells us, recent history tells us, good policy matters, particularly at the state level, comparing us to, say, some other states that are having a little bit of trouble. Yeah. Florida doesn't seem to be suffering from those same things, but good stewardship and leadership like you provide has led us to where we are, and well into the future. So, Senator, really do appreciate your public service. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me in today. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.